The first thing, as with any slide, is that we need to know how we want it to look, so that the first step is roughly to sketch the slide layout. Here's the rough sketch that I produced for this demonstration. This makes it much easier to know how to lay the slide out as we're doing it. Let's first go ahead and do the really simple thing and add the slide title. A simple text box, or if you're using a slide master with a title placeholder, then you simply click in that to add the title. The next thing we're going to do is to add the grid lines. You can see from the sketch that we need 7 lines, so we select the line tool in PowerPoint and simply draw a line on the slide, holding down the Shift key to make sure that it stays horizontal. It doesn't matter where we place the line at this point. With the line selected, we then type Ctrl D 6 times to duplicate the line and produce 6 copies, so ending up with 7 lines. Then we select all 7 lines, go to the Shape Format menu, click on a line and select Align Left. You might also find that you have an Arrange option on the Home menu in PowerPoint where you can do the same thing. The lines are now all the same length and they're all aligned perfectly. We then hit Ctrl G to group the lines together. This now means that we can position this group of lines on the slide by dragging any of the handles on the grouped object to resize and reposition the whole group. We've positioned it so that there's enough room for the X-axis figures and the Y-axis figures. At this stage we can also change the colour and thickness of the lines. I'm going to leave them white on the green background, but I'll increase the thickness and maybe make them dashed. And because they're grouped, these changes affect all of the lines. With that done, we now want to put in the Y-axis figures. The largest of our figures is 150, so we create a text box and type 150 and set it right aligned. Then we can format the text in whatever way we wish in terms of size, font and colour. Then the same as with the lines, we select the number and duplicate it 6 times. Then take the bottom number down so that it aligns with the bottom grid line. We'll change that figure to 0. Then we can align the numbers. We then select all of the numbers and go to the Shape Format menu, click on Align and select Distribute Vertically. Then it's simply a matter of changing the rest of the figures in the Y-axis to go from 150 down to 0. Likewise with the X-axis figures. For these we need 8 figures. So we create the first one. The size, font and colour can be changed at this point, but we'll leave it as is and then we'll centrally align it. Again we hit Ctrl D to duplicate it. This time though, before we duplicate for a second time, we're going to move the second figure roughly into position first. And then when we hit Ctrl D again, you can see that it has used the same spacing between our duplicated objects. Once again, we align the first figure and the last figure into their correct position relative to the grid. Also make sure that they are aligned to the top or to the bottom and then distribute them horizontally to ensure equal spacing between all of the figures. Then once again we can edit these figures with the correct information. Finally, we want to add the plot line, which is simply a matter of selecting the polygon tool and clicking to draw the line 1 point at a time. Once we get to the last point, double click to finish it off. And then we're going to format the line, change the colour and make it nice and thick. At this point the line has just been drawn roughly on the chart. In order to ensure the correct positioning for each of these points relative to the X-axis years, we can produce another temporary grid to go across the graph in the same way that we produce the main grid. We can then use this to aid in positioning your points and then delete it when done. So there we have a simple graph in PowerPoint, and of course we can add other enhancements to this graph if we wish.